today's video, I want to talk about abandonment trauma and how this links in with codependent behaviors. Now, abandonment is an extremely painful type of trauma that a lot of individuals will experience if they have emotionally handicapped parents, and especially those that have been brought up in very dysfunctional family homes that have had one or both parents with a personality disorder, specifically narcissism. Now, when we have been abandoned emotionally in our childhood, and this can be emotional abandonment as well as physical. The physical is not always present, but the emotional abandonment is the worst type because it basically tells us as children that our needs do not matter, that who we are as a person is not important. If our parents are not there for us unconditionally and they don't love us unconditionally, the message we are going to take from this is that we are not good enough, that we are not worth fighting for, that we are not lovable enough, that our needs are not important enough. Now, experiencing emotional abandonment as a child very much affects the way that we perceive ourselves, and it affects our sense of self. So we don't grow up having a healthy sense of self because we were always ignored, because we were told to stop crying, because we weren't allowed to feel our feelings, because we weren't heard, because our needs and our wants and our feelings were not validated. And we were emotionally abandoned again and again if our parents were controlling, or if they guilt tripped us every time we needed something, if we complained as children, if we were upset about something. You know, children are vulnerable and they learn everything from their parents, and they learn how to attach in a healthy way. If their parent is obviously healthy, if the parent isn't, then they will struggle with attachment issues, and they will struggle with self-esteem and how they feel about themselves. Their self-worth will be affected. So obviously, having been abandoned, that really affects an individual's self-worth, because they will think, well, you know what, I was not good enough to be loved enough, to be listened to enough, to having had my needs met. My parent obviously thought that they were more important than I was. So this, of course, affects our sense of self, and then it leads to certain coping mechanisms that may have served us well when we were children, but unfortunately they don't serve us well anymore in adulthood. And these behaviors form what is known as codependency. So one of these behaviors is when we are people pleasers. We people please in order to feel important, because as a child, our parents would have taught us that their needs mattered more than our own needs. So we will have been in a hypervigilant state of trying to figure out, what is it that I need to do to keep my mum or dad happy? Do I need to be quiet? Do I need to bring mum and dad a drink? Do I need to look after them? We will be in a hypervigilant state, and we will be people pleasers. We will constantly try and gauge the environment. We'll constantly try and understand what state of mind or what mood is mum or dad in. We will need to be hypervigilant so we are able to predict what will happen next. And this almost becomes like a sixth sense in us, is that we are so aware of our parents' emotional needs and their moods and what is going to set them off, that we learn how to comply and we learn how to protect ourselves. And if compliance means that we shut up, or that we figure out what our parents need, what makes them happy, it might be that they are an alcoholic, and that by giving them a drink, that may stop them shouting at us, or it might be that we are really quiet if mum and dad want to have a sleep. It might be that we go to our friend's house just to stay out of the way. There's many different things that we learn to do when we are in that sort of unhealthy environment, in such a dysfunctional environment. So people pleasing is obviously one of the coping mechanisms that we employ that is part of codependency. Another one is perfectionism, that we're really hard on ourselves if we don't do everything perfectly, because our parents probably punished us constantly or were completely unreasonable about the way that we did things. Even if we did something perfectly, they would probably criticize us and find fault in everything that we did. Narcissists are never satisfied with anything. No matter what you do, they will find fault in something. So, perfectionism is another coping skill. It's another thing that we will do in order to feel better, to feel like we are in control. But the reality is that with a narcissist, we will never be able to be in control. We will never be able to satisfy them. We will never be able to gain their approval. What we need to do is look inside ourselves and give ourselves that love and that approval, and to form a strong sense of self, to be able to understand our own needs and our own emotions. People with codependency and people that have had abandonment trauma, they don't know what they feel. They have no idea what their needs and wants are, because they've spent a whole lifetime dedicating every bit of energy that they had on their parents and what their parents needed and what their parents wanted. And what happens sadly is that we end up in relationships with people that are very self-centered, probably like our parents. We stick with what is familiar. We will probably end up marrying someone that resembles our mom or our dad, or their moods. If our parents were chaotic, we will probably end up marrying someone that's quite chaotic. If there was a lot of drama and a lot of arguing, then we'll probably end up in a relationship like that as well. And even if we are lucky enough to choose a healthy partner, we will then ourselves be the ones that sabotage that relationship and create unhealthy patterns of behavior, because once again, we are trying to recreate what we know. And that is a very, very difficult thing to break away from. But once you have awareness, once you understand that, then you can work on it. But if we have awareness that we are self-sabotaging and our partner knows we do this because of our trauma, then they can also help pinpoint when we are, self-sabotaging, when we are creating conflict, or when we are creating chaos and drama. And it takes a lot of work to actually get to a point in our healing, in our sort of recovery journey, where we actually start feeling comfortable around that. Unfortunately, codependency is, very, very prevalent. A lot of people have it due to their dysfunctional backgrounds, but we can do a lot about it. We just need to look inside ourselves and try and, build our confidence. And, we just need to learn to trust ourselves and to love ourselves, and to not need to seek approval from other people around us. And the other extreme from having had abandonment trauma is that you may withdraw completely. So you may actually stay away from relationships altogether. You will avoid intimate relationships. You will avoid closeness. You will not trust anybody. You will not let your guard down. And you will end up probably feeling really lonely, because actually, deep down, you really need that connection. You really want to be loved. You really want to have a family. But sadly, this is another extreme reaction to abandonment trauma that a lot of people deal with. But this can also be helped with baby steps, with CBT. This can be helped even if you have avoidant tendencies. You just need to take small steps into changing the core beliefs that you have, that you are unlovable, that you are not worth it. You need to change those core beliefs, because those core beliefs, they're not true. You are lovable, you are worth it, you are worthy of love, you're worthy of having a relationship, you are worthy of having all of those beautiful things that people are able to have in this life. So that is the end of the video today. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment below the video, and if you have any questions at all, then please let me know. I am available for coaching if anybody needs any support, and please feel free to drop me an email if you need anything. Thank you so much. Have a great day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.